Darkness fell over the quiet village, but the silence was not ordinary, it was heavy, it was breathing. Somewhere deep inside the thick forest, a shadow moved, tall and hungry, watching the children play under the moonlight. Little did the people know that a secret older than time itself had been awakened, and soon, a girl named Anyango would be the one chosen to face it. Welcome to Nightfall Tales by Wura, where ancient stories breathe again. Stay with us, the night has only just begun. The moon was bright that evening, its light spilling across the roofs of Obunga village, a small community surrounded by endless forests. The villagers had gathered in the square, singing and dancing to the rhythm of drums. The air was filled with laughter, roasted meat, and the sweet sound of flutes. It was a celebration, the harvest festival, a time to thank the gods for food, rain, and life. Among the children dancing around the fire was Anyango, a bright-eyed girl of 15, with skin that glowed under the moonlight and hair braided with colorful beads. Her laughter was like a bell, full of life and innocence. Everyone loved her, she was kind, respectful, and always ready to help. But as the night grew older, a strange silence fell. The drummers stopped. The dancers froze. Even the crickets seemed to vanish. The elders looked at each other nervously because they knew what this silence meant. From the forest came a sound, a low growl, like thunder under the earth. The children clung to their mothers. The fire flickered weakly. Then, they saw it. A shadow. Tall. Wide. Moving. It stood at the edge of the trees, its eyes glowing like burning coal. Its teeth shone under the moonlight. It was the ogre, the ancient one, the eater of children, the terror of the forest. The elders quickly commanded the people to scatter and hide in their huts. But the ogre's gaze had already fallen upon the children. And among them was Anyango. That night, the village drums of celebration turned into drums of warning. The ogre had returned. The next morning, fear sat on every doorstep. No one went to the farm. No one fetched water from the river. Mothers kept their children inside, whispering prayers under their breath. The village council gathered under the big Irako tree in the center of the square. Old men with white beards, women with headscarves tied tightly, and the chief himself, Chief Aching, sat in silence. At last, the oldest of them all, Grandmother Awar, stood. Her voice was shaky but filled with power. The ogre has woken, she said, and when the ogre wakes, blood follows. For many years, it has slept in the forest, but now it has returned to demand what it always demanded, a child sacrifice. The crowd gasped. Mothers clutched their daughters. Fathers clenched their fists in anger. Chief Aching raised his staff. No child will be given to the monster. We will fight it. We are not slaves to darkness. But Grandmother Awar shook her head sadly. No spear, no arrow, no blade can kill it. Many tried before us, and their bones lie under the trees. The ogre cannot be killed, only tricked. Her words spread fear like fire. Children cried. Women wailed. The council argued. Some wanted to fight, others wanted to flee. But deep in her heart, Anyango felt something different. She could not explain it, but a strange connection burned inside her when she saw the ogre the night before. She felt as if the creature had looked directly into her soul. That night, when everyone else hid indoors, Anyango sneaked out and stood by the forest's edge. She whispered into the darkness. Why me? What do you want from me? And the forest answered with silence, until a deep, rumbling laugh rolled out from the trees. The night was heavy. Clouds covered the moon. The wind rustled through the leaves. And then, the ogre stepped out of the forest. Anyango froze. The creature was taller than the tallest man, its body covered in dark fur, its teeth long and sharp. Its eyes glowed red like fire, and when it breathed, the earth seemed to tremble. But strangely, it did not attack her. Instead, it spoke. Its voice was deep, harsh, yet strangely calm. Child. I know you. I have watched you since the day you were born. You are different from the others. Your heart, it belongs to me. Anyango's knees shook. She wanted to run, but her feet refused to move. "Why me?" she whispered. The ogre leaned closer, its hot breath burning her face. "Because you are the one chosen. Bring yourself to me willingly, and I will spare your village. Refuse, and your people will drown in blood." Tears filled Anyango's eyes. She thought of her mother, her little brother Otieno, the children of the village. Her heart pounded painfully. But before she could answer, the ogre melted back into the forest, leaving only its laughter behind. Anyango fell to her knees, trembling. She realized then her life was no longer her own. The battle between her and the ogre had begun. For days, Anyango carried the ogre's words inside her chest like a burning coal. She could not sleep. She could not eat. Every time she saw the children of the village playing, laughter spilling from their lips, her heart ached. The ogre's voice echoed in her ears. "Bring yourself to me willingly, and I will spare your village." But how could she tell anyone? If her mother knew, she would cry until her eyes dried out. If the chief heard, he would call for warriors to fight, and that would mean death for everyone. So Anyango said nothing. She smiled when spoken to, but behind her smile was thunder. One night, her little brother Otieno found her crying by the river. "Why are you sad, sister?" he asked in his small, innocent voice. Anyango quickly wiped her tears and pulled him close. "Nothing, Otieno. Nothing at all. I'm just tired." But deep down, she knew Otieno must never know the truth. Yet secrets have a way of growing heavier with each passing day. And soon, Anyango's silence would begin to break her. The days that followed were filled with terror. At night, strange sounds echoed from the forest. Goats disappeared from their pens. Fishermen swore they saw giant footprints by the riverbank. And every morning, smoke rose from deep inside the forest like fires lit for a feast. The elders grew restless. Chief Aching gathered his warriors, men with spears, shields, and painted faces. "This monster cannot control us," he shouted. "We will fight." But Grandmother Awar shook her head bitterly. "You are like children trying to catch fire with bare hands. The ogre cannot be fought. The ogre cannot be killed." Her words silenced the crowd. That night, as the village slept, Anyango slipped out again. The forest called to her, heavy with the smell of damp earth and danger. She had not gone far when she heard the growl. The tree shifted, and the ogre appeared, its eyes burning in the darkness. It circled her slowly, like a lion circling its prey. "The days pass quickly, child," it rumbled. "Have you decided? Will you come to me willingly? Or shall I take what I want by force?" Anyango's heart pounded. She wanted to scream. She wanted to run. But instead, she whispered, "Please, give me time." The ogre leaned close, its teeth glistening. "Time? Very well. I will give you 3 nights. If you do not come to me by then, I will feed on your people. The old first, then the children." With that, it vanished into the trees, leaving Anyango trembling. 3 nights. Her world was collapsing. The first night passed in silence. Anyango barely breathed. The second night, the wind carried strange whispers through the village. Babies cried in their sleep. Dogs barked at nothing. On the third night, it happened. A scream shattered the night. Villagers rushed from their huts. One of the farms at the edge of the forest was burning, flames rising into the sky. And beside the fire lay the torn body of an old man, his blood soaking the ground. It was old Nzi Baraka, the village storyteller. The ogre had struck. Women wailed. Men cursed. Children clung to their mothers. The warriors wanted revenge, but the elders knew this was only the beginning. Anyango's heart broke as she watched. She could feel the ogre's eyes on her, even though it was hidden. That night, as the village mourned, she went into the darkness and cried until her throat burned. She knew now that silence was no longer an option. If she kept the secret, more would die. If she revealed the truth, the village would demand she sacrifice herself. Either way, the fire had already started. And soon, the whole village would burn. The village was heavy with mourning. Women covered their heads with ash. Men sat in silence, their eyes burning with helpless anger. Children huddled close to their mothers, afraid to sleep. Anyango sat apart, her heart pounding louder than the drums of grief. She wanted to scream out the truth, to tell everyone. It's me the ogre wants. If I go, it will stop. But when she opened her mouth, nothing came. Fear chained her tongue. That night, as she lay awake, she heard voices outside her hut. Two women whispered. Did you see how quiet Anyango has been? Yes, and she wanders at night too. Where does she go? Maybe she knows something. The words cut into her like a knife. Already, suspicion was spreading. Already, her secret was cracking. Otieno, her little brother, crept to her side. Sister, what are they saying about you? He asked with innocent eyes. Anyango held him close, tears wetting his hair. Don't listen, Otieno. Don't listen to them. But she knew. The storm was coming. On the second day after the fire, Anyango went to fetch water at the river. She knelt, filling her pot, when suddenly the air grew cold. The birds stopped singing. She looked up, and there it was. The ogre. Its reflection rippled on the river's surface, tall, dark, and monstrous. It did not roar this time. It did not threaten. It only stared at her, its voice curling like smoke around her ears. The time is ending, child. I gave you 3 nights. Now blood has been tasted, and I will not stop. Tonight, I will take more. Unless. Its burning eyes pierced her soul. Unless you come. Anyango's chest tightened. She whispered, almost choking. Why me? Out of all the children, why me? The ogre leaned closer, its shadow stretching over the water. Because your blood is different. Your heart carries the song of the old ones. You are mine. You have always been mine. Before she could reply, footsteps approached. The ogre vanished into the trees like smoke. It was Aking, her childhood friend. She had seen the way Anyango was kneeling, whispering into the empty forest. Who were you talking to? Aking asked, her voice trembling. Anyango froze. She shook her head quickly. No one. I was praying. But Aking's eyes narrowed. She had seen enough. And she would not keep silent. That night, the village gathered again. Torches burned. Warriors sharpened spears. Fear sat on every face. Suddenly, a scream shattered the darkness. It came from the northern edge of the village. Men ran, women cried, and what they saw froze their hearts. 3 children were missing. Their mothers wailed, falling to the ground. Their fathers shouted curses into the night. The warriors followed the trail, and what they found chilled their blood, giant footprints leading back into the forest. The ogre had taken them. Panic swept through the village. People shouted. Some blamed the chief for failing to protect them. Others cried out against the elders for their weakness. And then Aking stood up in the crowd, pointing at Anyango. She knows something, she shouted. I saw her by the river, speaking to the shadows. I saw her. She is hiding the truth from us. The crowd gasped. Eyes turned toward Anyango. Whispers rose like angry bees. Her mother rushed forward, shielding her daughter. No! Leave her alone. But suspicion had already been planted. Anyango's heart pounded as the chief raised his staff. Anyango, he said slowly, his voice heavy with suspicion, is there something you need to tell us? The entire village fell silent. The torches crackled. The night itself seemed to lean in, waiting for her answer. And deep in the forest, the ogre laughed. The night air was thick. The villagers gathered around the fire, faces lit by torch flames, eyes burning with suspicion. At the center stood Anyango, her hands trembling, her mother clutching her tightly, trying to shield her from the angry crowd. Chief Aching's voice cut through the chaos. Anyango, answer me. Do you know something about this monster? Have you spoken to it? The crowd roared in whispers. She must be hiding something. She's cursed. She's the reason the ogre has returned. Anyango opened her mouth, but her throat locked. She wanted to confess, but fear gripped her like chains. If she admitted the truth, the villagers would hand her over without mercy. Before she could speak, Grandmother Wura raised her staff. Silence, she commanded. The crowd obeyed. Her eyes, sharp and old, pierced into Anyango's soul. Child, Wura said slowly, your spirit is heavy. The ogre has touched you. I can see its shadow in your eyes. But do not fear. The truth always rises, even if buried in darkness. The crowd gasped. Anyango's knees buckled. Otieno, her little brother, rushed forward and clung to her, crying. Leave my sister alone. She did nothing. The crowd murmured, torn between pity and anger. That night, when all dispersed, Anyango lay awake, shaking. She knew now her secret could no longer be buried. The truth was already leaking through the cracks. And soon, it would break wide open. The following dawn, warriors returned from the forest with terrible news. They had found one of the missing children. Or rather, what was left of him. His tiny body lay broken under the trees, his face pale, his eyes wide open in death. He had been drained of life as though something monstrous had feasted on him. The mother's scream shook the earth. The village fell into mourning once more. But the message was clear, the ogre was not playing. Chief Aching slammed his staff into the ground. No more. If the monster wants a sacrifice, we must give it one. If we do not, the whole village will die. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Mothers pulled their children close. Fathers lowered their heads in shame. And then someone's voice rose from the crowd. Give it Anyango. All eyes turned to her. Her heart stopped. Her mother cried out, no. She is innocent. But the whispers had become a wave. Give it Anyango. She is the one it wants. She walks at night. She is cursed. Anyango's chest burned with tears. The villagers were turning against her. That night, as she sat outside her hut, the air grew cold. The trees shifted. And then the ogre appeared, towering, terrible. Do you see now, child? They will give you to me. They will throw you at my feet. But come willingly, and I will spare them. Anyango clenched her fists, trembling. You're lying. You'll never stop. The ogre's teeth glistened in the moonlight as it growled. Then watch what happens when I am denied. And in the distance, another scream tore through the night. The scream came from the huts near the forest's edge. Villagers rushed with torches, only to find another home torn apart. A father lay bleeding on the ground, his chest ripped open. His wife sobbed over him, her voice breaking. But worse, their daughter was gone. Another child stolen. Panic exploded. People wailed, some fainted, others shouted angrily at the chief. This is your fault. You should have protected us. You should have given the monster what it wants. The chief trembled, for he knew what they meant. The villagers began to shout louder, pointing at Anyango's hut. Bring her out. Give her to the ogre. She is the chosen one. Anyango's mother barred the door with her body, weeping. Otieno clung to his sister, crying, Don't let them take you, Anyango. Don't go. But the villagers were beyond reason. They pounded on the door, their voices rising like thunder. And in the forest, the ogre's laughter rolled over the village, shaking every soul to its bones. That night, Anyango realized her fate was sealed. Either she would surrender herself, or the village would tear her apart first. The scream came from the huts near the forest's edge. Villagers rushed with torches, only to find another home torn apart. A father lay bleeding on the ground, his chest ripped open. His wife sobbed over him, her voice breaking. But worse, their daughter was gone. Another child stolen. Panic exploded. People wailed, some fainted, others shouted angrily at the chief. "This is your fault. You should have protected us. You should have given the monster what it wants." The chief trembled, for he knew what they meant. The villagers began to shout louder, pointing at Anyango's hut. "Bring her out. Give her to the ogre. She is the chosen one." Anyango's mother barred the door with her body, weeping. Otieno clung to his sister, crying, "Don't let them take you, Anyango. Don't go." But the villagers were beyond reason. They pounded on the door, their voices rising like thunder. And in the forest, the ogre's laughter rolled over the village, shaking every soul to its bones. That night, Anyango realized her fate was sealed. Either she would surrender herself, or the village would tear her apart first. Morning came with no joy. The sun rose, but it felt weak, as though even the heavens feared to shine on Obunga village. A heavy drumbeat called everyone to the Irako tree, where the council of elders gathered. The villagers pressed close, whispering, their faces twisted with anger and fear. At the center, guarded by warriors, stood Anyango. Her wrists were tied with rope. Her eyes were swollen from tears, yet still, her back was straight. Her mother knelt before the council, begging, "Please, do not harm my daughter. She is innocent. She has done nothing." But Akiing, her childhood friend, stepped forward, her voice sharp. "I saw her with my own eyes. Speaking to the shadows by the river. She knows the ogre. She is the reason our children are gone." Gasps ran through the crowd. Fingers pointed. Angry voices rose. "Give her to the ogre. Save the village." Chief Aching raised his hand for silence. His face was heavy with sorrow. "Anyango," he said, "the people believe you are cursed. Tell us the truth. Do you know why the ogre haunts us?" The whole village held its breath. Anyango trembled. She thought of her mother. She thought of Otieno, his tiny hands gripping hers. And then, with tears streaming down her face, she whispered, "Yes, it speaks to me." A gasp shook the crowd like thunder. "I did not call it," she cried desperately. "I did not ask for it. It chose me. It said if I give myself to it, the village will be spared." Chaos exploded. Some wept. Some shouted. Some fell to their knees in despair. The chief's staff shook in his hand. "So it is true. You are the chosen one." The sentence was clear, Anyango's life for the village. That night, the council gathered again. Torches burned low, casting long shadows. The elders sat in a circle, their voices heavy with fear. "We must give her to the monster," one elder said. "If we refuse, it will wipe us all out," another added. But Grandmother Rawar slammed her staff on the ground. "Fools! Do you not see? The ogre cannot be trusted. Even if the girl goes, it will not stop. Its hunger has no end." "Then what do you suggest?" the chief asked bitterly. "Do nothing? Watch as it eats us one by one?" Awar's eyes narrowed. "There is only one way to survive this, to outweed it." The council murmured nervously. But the decision had already spread beyond the elders. The villagers themselves were restless, ready to drag Anyango into the forest if the council refused. Inside her hut, Anyango lay between her mother and little Otieno. They held her hands, weeping silently. Her mother whispered, "My child, I will not let them take you." But Anyango knew. Tomorrow, the village would decide her fate. Sleep did not come. Only the ogre's voice in her head, echoing like thunder. "You are mine, child. Your blood sings to me. Without you, I will never rest." Before dawn, a sound ripped through the village, a scream so sharp it tore the sky. People rushed with torches and found another horror. A family's hut had been ripped apart, blood staining the ground. The father was dead, the mother injured. But it was the sight of the son, his body torn open, that froze every heart. On the wall of the hut, scratched into the mud with monstrous claws, were words no one had ever imagined the ogre could form. "Bring me the girl." Terror spread like wildfire. Children clung to their mothers. Fathers shook in helpless rage. The ogre was no longer hiding in the forest. It was speaking directly to them. Demanding. Commanding. The people turned on the chief, their voices wild. "No more waiting. Hand her over now. Or we all die." The chief looked at Anyango's mother, who clutched her daughter tightly, her eyes red with grief. Grandmother Wura stepped forward, raising her staff, her voice shaking with power. "This is no ordinary hunger. This is not just flesh the ogre wants. This is blood with meaning. This girl carries something old, something powerful, and that is why the monster hunts her." The villagers gasped. What could it mean? But before anyone could answer, a terrible roar shook the ground. Trees fell in the distance. The earth trembled. The ogre was coming. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Now. And this time, nothing could stop it. The ground shook before the roar. Huts trembled. Goats scattered. Babies screamed in their mother's arms. Then the trees at the edge of the village split apart, and out of the shadows stepped the ogre. It was taller than the tallest hut, its body covered in thick, black fur, its teeth glowing in the torchlight. Its eyes red, burning, endless, swept over the terrified villagers. The warriors rushed forward, spears raised. "Defend the village!" Chief Aching shouted. They hurled their weapons. The spears struck the ogre's chest and arms, but bounced off as if striking stone. The monster roared, sweeping its arm. Warriors flew through the air like leaves in the wind. The villagers screamed. The ogre stepped closer, its voice shaking the earth. "Where is the girl? Bring her to me." The people panicked. Some dropped to their knees, crying. Others turned toward Anyango's hut, shouting, "Give her to it. Save us all." Her mother stood in the doorway, clutching her daughter, tears streaming down her face. "You will not take her." But the villagers surged forward. Rough hands dragged Anyango from her mother's arms. Otieno screamed, clinging to her leg, until a man pulled him back. "No! Please!" Anyango cried. But her voice was drowned out by the roar of the people. The ogre stretched its arms wide, waiting. They dragged Anyango into the square, pushing her to her knees before the monster. Her tears fell into the dust. Her mother screamed, fighting against the men who held her back. Otieno sobbed until his voice broke. The chief raised his staff, his face pale. "Great ogre, here is the girl. Take her, and spare us." The ogre's laughter rolled like thunder. It stepped closer, bending low until its hot breath blasted over Anyango. But instead of snatching her immediately, it touched her cheek with one long claw. "You see," it growled. "Even your people betray you. You are mine." Anyango trembled, staring into its burning eyes. And for the first time, she saw something beyond hunger. Something darker. It was not only her flesh it wanted. It wanted her spirit. The ogre lifted her by the arm as if she weighed nothing. The villagers fell to their knees, praying, covering their eyes. But Grandmother Wura stepped forward, her staff raised high. "Wait, beast," she shouted. "Tell them the truth. Tell them why you want this girl." The ogre growled, its eyes blazing. "Old woman, do not test me." But Wura's voice rang louder. "This is no ordinary child. She carries the bloodline of the keepers of the fire, those who once bound you in chains. That is why you hunt her. That is why you fear her." Gasps filled the air. The ogre snarled, its grip on Anyango tightening. Silence. But the truth was out. The villagers trembled, confused. Some shouted. What does this mean? Is she cursed or chosen? Grandmother Wura raised her staff, her old eyes blazing with fire. Generations ago, when the ogre first rose, it was not killed. It was trapped by the blood of the keepers. That blood runs in this girl. That is why it wants her. If it drinks her blood, it will break its chains forever. It will never be stopped. The villagers gasped in horror. The ogre roared, its voice splitting the night. Lies. She belongs to me. It lifted Anyango high, ready to claim her. But in that moment, something stirred in her chest. Her heart beat so hard, it felt like drums inside her. And then, the ogre flinched. Its claws shook. Its eyes widened. Smoke rose from its hand where it touched her skin, as though her very blood was fire burning it. Anyango screamed, but the ogre's roar was louder. It dropped her to the ground, clutching its arm. The villagers gasped. For the first time, they saw the monster weaken. Grandmother Wura's voice rang out. Do you see? The girl is not our curse, she is our weapon. The crowd froze, torn between fear and hope. The ogre bared its teeth, retreating a step, its red eyes blazing with fury. And in that moment, Anyango understood the truth. She was not meant to be the monster's sacrifice. She was meant to be its destroyer. The ogre's roar split the night sky, louder than thunder. The villagers scattered, some falling to the ground, others clutching their children and praying. But Anyango did not run. She stood trembling in the dust, her hands shaking, her heart pounding like 1,000 drums. The monster's red eyes locked on her, glowing with fury. You are mine, it bellowed. And then, something happened. Her grandmother's staff, lying in the dirt where it had fallen, began to glow. Faint at first, like fireflies. Then brighter, like embers. Finally, it blazed like a torch. Wura staggered forward, her weak voice trembling. Take it, child. It is yours. The fire has chosen you. Anyango reached for the staff. The moment her hand touched it, a wave of heat rushed through her veins. Her fear melted into something stronger, courage, sharp and burning. The ogre lunged, its claws slashing through the air. Anyango leaped aside, the staff blazing. When she raised it, the flames wrapped around her arms like a shield. The villagers gasped. For the first time, they saw not a terrified girl, but a warrior. The ogre roared again, swiping its massive hand. The staff met the blow, sparks exploded, lighting the night like lightning. The shockwave knocked people off their feet. Anyango staggered, but she did not fall. She lifted the staff high, and a ball of fire erupted from its tip, striking the ogre in the chest. The beast screamed, clutching its burning flesh. Smoke curled from its body. For the first time, it bled. Fight, child, her grandmother cried. Do not stop. Anyango swung again. Flames slashed across the night, burning the monster's fur. Each strike grew stronger, each roar from the ogre louder and more desperate. But with every blow, Anyango grew weaker. The fire burned her arms, her chest, her spirit. The staff drained her strength even as it gave her power. The ogre sensed her weakness. With a final roar, it charged, jaws wide, claws outstretched. Anyango fell to her knees, panting, the staff heavy in her hands. The beast's shadow swallowed her. But then, she remembered her brother's voice. Sister, promise you will always protect me. Tears filled her eyes. Her lips whispered. For you, Otieno. She raised the staff one last time. The ogre leapt. Its claws reached for her throat. In that heartbeat of silence, the world seemed to stop. Anyango thrust the staff forward, screaming with every breath left in her body. Ea-Ewa! The flames exploded, brighter than the sun. Fire burst from the staff, wrapping the ogre in a storm of light. The monster howled, thrashing, its body engulfed in fire. Its red eyes widened in horror as the flames sank deeper, not burning its flesh alone, but tearing at its spirit. It fell to its knees, clawing at its chest. No! No! I cannot be destroyed. But the fire was not Anyango's alone. It was the fire of her ancestors, the keepers of the fire, passed through her blood. Their voices echoed in the flames, chanting, binding, breaking. The ogre's roar shook the heavens, then turned into a scream. Its body cracked, split, and shattered into ash. The ground trembled. The fire rose high into the sky, then vanished. Silence. The staff fell from Anyango's hands. She collapsed, her body trembling, her chest heaving. The villagers stood frozen. Then, slowly, they rose. She had done it. The ogre was gone. Otieno ran to her, throwing his small arms around her. Sister, you saved us. Her mother wept, kneeling beside her, cradling her face. My child, my brave child. Grandmother Wura raised her trembling staff. She is the daughter of fire. The ogre is no more. The curse is broken. The crowd erupted into cheers, tears, and songs. The people lifted Anyango onto their shoulders, carrying her through the village. The drums beat, the voices rose, and the night became alive with celebration. But in the middle of the joy, Anyango's eyes lifted to the sky. She whispered softly. This power is not mine. It is a gift and a burden. Her grandmother's eyes met hers. Child, remember, fire can destroy, but it can also light the way. You are its keeper now. Guard it well. And though the village sang, deep in Anyango's heart, she knew the truth. The battle was won. But her journey, the journey of the keeper of the fire, had only just begun. And so, the tale of Anyango and the ogre comes to an end. A young girl, once seen as weak and afraid, rose from the shadows of fear to carry the fire of her ancestors. She stood where warriors had fallen. She fought where hope had died. And in her courage, she lit the path for an entire village. But her story does not end here. Because the fire she carries is more than a weapon, it is a burden, a promise, and a destiny yet to unfold. Fire, remember this, dear listener, true strength does not come from muscle or size, but from the fire burning within the heart. Sparkles, thank you for walking with us through this unforgettable journey. This is Nightfall Tales by Wura, where stories live forever. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and join us again, because the night is never complete without a story.